Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on Rash Pixel FM. I'm Pete Wright, and right there is Nikki Kinzer. Hello, Nikki.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
As we are recording this, so there's always there's a little delay, but as we are recording this, we've just come out of the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday weekend, and so a belated Thanksgiving to those if we missed you last week. So we're recovering. It is a fine Monday morning as we are recovering from being away for a few days. So if we're moving a little slow, that may be why.
The recovering, that's a really good word.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I'll tell you why.
How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing okay. I feel like I've been beaten up a little bit because I was beaten up. So I had this great idea yesterday, which was Sunday. So this was Sunday after Thanksgiving, to put my Christmas decorations up.
Okay.
And in our attic, we have all of our bins. And I have to tell you that the bins, he already knows where this is going. So the bins are, my attic is not organized. It is very, if you looked at it, you would definitely think it was a hoarder that lived in that small space. And it's extremely dangerous.
We should say it has been organized in the past because
it has, yeah.
We used it. We did a photo shoot there.
That was like many, many years ago.
Yeah. Oh God.
So anyway, yes, it's very dangerous. And so, there's this little small path, and it's actually a pretty good sized attic because you can walk in and, it's not an attic that you have to like go up a ladder or anything. I mean, I walk right in and it's part of the house, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's hard to explain, but anyway, there was this little path where I could see the decorations the bins. And so I went to get the bins and my daughter was helping me. And I looked at where they were sitting and I thought, I didn't think that we could be on that part of the attic because I didn't, it's not wooden, it's not wood, but yet here are these bins that are on that part of the attic. So I go
because it's
and
just
I do
like
my
drywall,
thing.
like over the rafters.
Right.
It's not like ply.
Part of it is like the majority of it is ply, but that's where like the hoarding is happening.
Okay.
So I had to go to the other part of the attic, which
has no subfloor there.
Has no, because I didn't realize that my husband had actually put boards underneath the bins so that they would stay. Like I didn't connect that you needed to have a board with where the bins were. So I'm getting the last bin and I am not kidding. I slipped through my roof.
Oh God. Nikki, what? I mean, I'm only laughing because you're obviously standing here today.
I know.
Nikki, what happened?
It was one of the scariest things I have ever experienced in my life. I seriously thought I was going to die or I was going to like break every bone in my body. I had one leg hanging. And then I had the other leg. I know, it's like the Thanksgiving miracle / Christmas vacation experience. It was awful. So my daughter's like, Nikki, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. Or she said, Mom. She's like, Mom, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I am through the roof. Like I am dangling.
What? At this point, what is below you? I mean, I know as you're through. What room are you? What room are you? You're in the garage.
Yeah.
Your legs sticking out of your living room.
No, out of the garage.
Oh, God.
So I look down and all I see is, because my garage is a mess too. So I'm like, oh my gosh, if I fall, what am I going to fall on? Because it's like, it looks like a hoarding episode too. It's so bad. And so, yeah, I have one leg dangling and then I have the other leg up on the attic and I'm holding on like this, like this, right? Like I'm holding on for dear life. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm going to fall through the roof because if it went through my foot, my leg, if I'm sitting here, I'm going to fall.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I am going to
Of
fall.
course.
And so my daughter like goes and gets my husband and he's like, oh, well, you know, we're going to get you out. We're going to get you out. But then he starts walking on the part that I fell on, although he knows that it's supported, right? Because he knows where the boards are and everything.
Right.
But I totally panic. Because I'm like, no, you can't stand there. You're going to get hurt. You're going to fall. Like, we're both going to fall.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm totally panicking, not
and you
really
have this
connecting.
image of your entire floor, or attic floor, just falling into the garage. Yeah, I get it.
And believe
I'm
me,
lightheaded
it
here.
it would be much worse for my husband to fall than it would be for me.
Yeah, right.
Much worse, right? Because, you know, the MS and everything.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, you can't. And so I'm like adamant. I'm like, you got to get out. You can't do that. And he's like, Nikki, it's okay. I'm standing on the wood thing. And I'm like, no, I mean, it was awful. So anyway, between him and my daughter, they pulled me out. But he said when he heard my daughter say, Mom fell through the roof. Mom fell through the roof.
Yeah.
He looked in the garage and he said, I can see your leg. He's like, he wanted to take a picture, but then he's like, I can't because you would be really mad if I like took the second to like, you know, take a picture. But I'm like, kind of wish he would have now because it's really quite funny. And then I look back at the hole and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Like, oh, you know, just thinking that I like really trashed our house. Anyway,
don't fix the hole. You gotta leave the hole as like a memorial.
We're going to fix the hole because
it's going to be important to know where not to stand.
I know. Well, why I feel so beat up though is because when you fall like that, you don't come out with nothing. And so like my whole left leg is completely bruised from the knee to basically the ankle.
Yeah.
I have a bruise on my shoulder. I have a bruise on my head, underneath my chin, on my arms. And then the worst one is on my side. And, it's nasty. It's like, it's swollen and, it's really bad. So I feel very sore. I do feel like somebody just like kicked the crap out of me.
Yeah.
You know, all of my
you got to get into your
plans.
chiropractic. You got to you probably need it because that's very jarring, right? To fall.
Yeah.
Like that.
I mean, it
probably
was
threw yourself out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, I am fine. And,
oh my God, my
was
glasses are
story.
fogging up. I'm crying here.
I know. It was quite the story. And my husband and I and my daughter had a lot of fun kind of talking about it yesterday and kind of going through it too, because, you know, they have great sense of humors. And so we were talking about how if I had fallen through that I would have probably done like a flip and, you know, been like crazy acrobat, you know, so, there were a couple things though. I got to tell you, I was really lucky because one of the things that happened is I would have fallen all the way through and would have broken something. I wouldn't have died because it's not like far enough from the ground.
But it's a high ceiling. It's far.
It's a high enough ceiling.
It's like at least 12-foot ceilings in there.
It probably would have like hurt me. I mean, I know I would have like gotten something would have broken.
Yeah.
But what was so interesting is there were, and it's so hard to explain, but there were these plates that we used to have hanging up that my kids, when they were little, they would draw on. So it's almost like chalkboard plate, you know, and there was 2 of them. And I remember seeing them when I went in to get the decorations. Well, when I fell, or at some point, those 2 plates fell onto the ground where I was at. And that's what I was sitting on. So because I was sitting on those, I didn't actually go through the roof.
Wow.
completely. It was just my leg.
You kid saved your
Otherwise,
life.
yeah, otherwise I would have like gone all the way through. I was also thinking I am so glad that my daughter was helping me. And I can't imagine if I was doing that by myself, like what would have happened. So
Oh
there
my
were a lot of
God.
things that were put in place that I was like, okay, so, it is a Thanksgiving blessing.
Mom fell through the
Mom fell through the roof. Are you okay, Mom? No, I'm not. I'm not okay. It was awful.
Oh God.
But anyway, there you have it. Now we have to move on to games.
I'm not sure how to do that. We are going to be we are going to talk about games today. I'm going to put that on the shirt. It's just going to have the leg sticking down. It just says Mom fell through the roof. The ADHD podcast Thanksgiving 2019.
Pretty much. Yep. And needless to say, my Christmas stuff is not up yet. And it probably won't be for a while.
No. Okay. All right.
It derailed everything.
Something has to give. We're going to be talking about some games today, and you know where it came from? Well, I'll tell you in a minute. Before we get started, you know what you can do? You can head over to takecontroladhd.com and get to know us a little bit. But you're not going to find this story on that website, though, and I feel like this is the story that you get to know us the best. Now, this is the high watermark for getting to know Pete and Nikki with this today. But you can get to know other stuff at takecontroladhd.com. You can listen to the show right there on the website or subscribe to the mailing list, and we'll send you an email each. It's kind of the graphic with the little leg. This is gonna pay dividends. We'll send you an email each time a new episode is released. You can connect with us on Twitter or Facebook at Take Control ADHD. And if this show has ever touched you, or if you just want to help Nikki rehabilitate from her activity, her Thanksgiving activity, please check out patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. You can support the show with just a few bucks a month. You can get access to the ADHD live stream. You can watch us record this show live in a very private YouTube link every single week that we record. You also get the show early. You get the show up to a week early if you subscribe to us through Patreon. In addition to at the higher level support levels, you get access to our monthly workshop. You get access to easy downloads of all of the past worksheets that we've ever done and all the PDFs. And it's all good. Mostly you're just supporting the ongoing development of this show, and we deeply appreciate it. In fact, we count on it. Thank you for your support of the ADHD podcast at patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. Can I start with a quick listener question?
Yes, please.
This came into. I feel like it's sort of tied in to my my theme this week, and
good.
It is. It came into the general channel just I think this morning, and here it is. A good Monday morning, y'all. Asking for advice on how you guys structure your unstructured time and how you found your hobby or calling. I thrive on extrinsic motivation, for example, deadlines and grades and anything that quantifies my performance and productivity. Of course, I thrive on high-pressure environs, and hobbies never really provide that for me. So I'm looking for help on how to be an actual person with hobbies or something. I know Take Control ADHD has covered this topic already, but yeah. And
they want more.
Ends on the yeah. And I just thought, what a good time. You know, if you're not in the U.S., I think the stereotypical U.S. kind of Thanksgiving, you go home, you eat a lot on the last Thursday of the month or the fourth Thursday of the month. Is it the last Thursday, fourth? I don't know. There's a Thursday near the end of November, and you eat a ton, and you're hanging out with family, and there's a lot of games and puzzles and things that happen, and it's a good time to reflect on, the things that you're into. What are the things that you do to pass time? So I wanted to ask you, how do you handle this, Nikki? How do you help others handle this on structuring your unstructured time and finding a hobby?
Well, that's a really good question. And I, by reading and listening to you actually read the question, what I would say is that, make a game out of trying to kind of figure out what your hobby or calling is, right? I mean, I think that you have to do a little bit of exploration And it may be good to kind of look at maybe some different sports or some different things. Like I just watched an interview on one of the hikers that do these hiking, these, extraordinary hikes up these mountains, and it's insane. And, but, for somebody that has that adrenaline rush that is looking for something like that, that might be something to look into, or something along those lines. So I would say just keep looking, keep being open to what interests you, try it, see what you think. Um, Hobby and calling, I think, are kind of two different things, in
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
opinion. A calling for me is more of like what I do here. I feel like what my work is a calling. Like I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I love working with you. I love doing this podcast. To me, I'm exactly where I need to be. But that's more of a professional environment. My hobbies are very different. They have nothing to do with ADHD, right?
Yeah.
They're pretty, because I'm actually more of an introvert. They're more of hobbies that I do by myself.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of kind of figuring out who you are, and trying some stuff out, see what sticks. And it's okay if it doesn't stick for long, right? Because that's part of your ADHD. Don't beat yourself up if you're interested in something for a while and then you lose interest. That's okay.
Right.
Find something else.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I come back to it. It is the time to reflect a little bit on some. You can quantify anything, right? You can set goals and put numbers to anything that you want to get better at. And for me, I've talked about NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, in the past, and that was a thing that really helped me get over the hump of figuring out how to write a fiction novel, a long form piece. I couldn't have done it without the metric and the graph and the pace, the tracking my words per day, words per hour kind of pace to get to know my relationship with this as a hobby turned professional part of my career. And so that was a big deal for me. I think that anything that if you figure out the right metric, you can make anything a sort of relatable hobby that tunes into that part of your brain, that extrinsic motivation. In terms of structuring time, I think that's the bigger question for me, which is because all of the time that I devote to a hobby can become a black hole time sink of doom if I'm not careful, right? Whether it's how many DVDs can I rip in a day from my personal collection in order to put them in my online collection so that I can stream them. That'll take me a year, but and I'll lose track of everything and stop eating. And so being able to figure out what the limiters are, whether I'm putting false limitations, like, fake limitations in the process, like I have to do 15 push-ups between every DVD I rip. I don't know what that is, but some sort of constraint in the some sort of wrench in the mix to slow me down or make me stop and reflect on when the last time I ate was. Like, those are the things that I have to think about. So, but I try to I put it in my calendar, right? I structure my time in my calendar because I'm one of those hyper scheduling guys. Like, if I don't put it in the calendar, I'll forget to do it. And if I do, it'll have an alarm associated with it, and I'll do it, and I'll make progress on my hobbies. I'll get better at the skills I want to develop. And so I think for me, that's a really important thing. Maybe it's a half hour a day, maybe it's 45 minutes, whatever it is. I make sure it's represented, or I won't do it. So I don't know if that helps. But I really appreciate the question. I hope others jump in there. It's in the general chat, and I just checked, and it is. This was from her. It's from Grammar Nazi. So thank you, Grammar Nazi, not the other one. But I love it. Great question.
We'll probably have to do another. We'll probably have to do a new show on unstructured time,
right? Where we actually put a little bit more thought into it. Yeah, too.
Right. That's hard.
So let's talk about games, Nikki Kinzer.
Yes, that's fun.
Yeah, so a lot of games come across the boards over these holiday weekends. A lot of games and puzzles. And so I started kind of percolating on the kinds of games that attract me, right? The things that attract my brain, because there are definitely games that repulse me. And we'll
Yeah, I
talk
would
about
say me
those too.
too. That's
Yeah, right?
interesting. Yeah, there's some I'm drawn to.
Right. So what are the kinds of games that attract my brain with ADHD? And so I started doing a little bit of research, and it turns out there's kind of some research out here that actually helps us refine the whys, right? Why certain games and activities are helpful for ADHD. And I thought, you know what? We don't really do a holiday like gift show. That's not really our motivation. We did a long, long time ago. But I started thinking like these. I have some games that I guess are kind of recommendations, but more like category recommendations, and hopefully suggestions for folks to at least think about what you might introduce into your life to help you kill some time and maybe introduce some new sorts of family time that might help. So, if you do a search, Nikki Kinzer, for ADHD games, what do you think you're going to find? If you just go on the Google, what are you going to find?
I'm surprised I haven't done that at this point.
Don't do it.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
I have no idea. I don't know what I would find.
Well, the first thing you find is like neurofeedback opportunities for kids with ADHD, right? And that means we're plugging kids into an EEG and we're making them try to accomplish tasks on the computer and watch their brain activity as they accomplish tasks on a computer. And the idea behind these neurofeedback games is, I think, really, it's fun and it is intriguing for me to at least think about, which is training your brain to find emotional states that allow you to achieve sort of a normative relationship with time and space around you as you're accomplishing tasks. If you find a space of focus, you hopefully over time will learn how to find that focus again without being plugged into the machines, because you'll know what your brain feels like when it's in that space. And so there are all kinds of opportunities for neurofeedback games, but they're kind of hard because they usually have to you have to go into a specialist and you have to like train your brain by being plugged into somebody else's equipment, and home opportunities for those things are isolating and not terribly reliable. And so there's been a spin-off of these neurofeedback games, and I'm sure you have heard of these. These are cognitive training games, and you find them all over the internet. Games like Lumosity and Brain HQ and Peak. These are things that you usually get on some sort of a freemium model, right? Where you get out your phone or your iPad or whatever, and you work on things like memory training and, pattern recognition and things that are supposed to make you, by judging your reaction time, make you better at, all sorts of different contexts outside of the environment. Have you ever tried any of these? The biggest one, I think, was Lumosity. For a while, they got sued for false claims, and they've gotten sort of quiet. But they're still definitely out there.
I haven't tried any of these. Mm-mm.
So I tried Lumosity for a little while, and Brain HQ is another one that's super popular. They make me really mad, like intensely mad, because I just, like, some of them I can do very, very well, and the ones that I can't do very well, I do very, very poorly. And so I get just furious at the experience. And so I started reading up, like, are these any good? Am I really missing the boat at having one of these, like, quick-to-play games on my phone to do when I'm waiting in line? Like, should I do the pattern recognition games, and should I tap away and making sure which face? There's one, oh my goodness, over at Brain HQ, where it asks you to recognize a face. It's like a face recognition thing. So you see a face very quickly, and then it shows you other faces at different perspectives. Like you'll look at them side, down, like up at their faces as if you're seeing them from the side when you only saw them from the front. And that destroys me. It just destroys
that would be
me.
Hard.
Oh, goodness. It's just awful. So I start reading up on these things, and it turns out these games are the good news first. Good news. Okay. They don't do any damage to you, right? If you're not enraged by them and you like playing them, go on and play them. They're not going to make anything worse. Okay. So that's the table stakes are these won't hurt you. They also, you will get better at the tasks that you are doing in the game. So you'll get better at playing the game facial recognition and playing the game shape recognition and twisty turny shapes. Like, you'll get better at those things. So those are the two bits of good news. Here's the problem. There is no conclusive research that says you will get better at living your life in any other context outside of doing those specific games. So while you'll get better at the facial recognition stuff as you tap around on your brain HQ, you won't get better at living your life with ADHD as a result of hours and hours of practice of that. You will only get better at the task in the game.
So what you're saying is it doesn't really help with the executive functions. It doesn't improve the executive functions. It just improves whatever it is you're specifically doing for that game. Okay.
Right. And so that's the thing. Like, and that's the thing to just be aware of those things. There's nothing that says you shouldn't do them. It's nothing that says they're introducing evil into the world. They're not snake oil. You'll get better at doing those tasks. You'll get faster. And there's a dopamine push that goes along with that. You'll feel good about doing them. But the research so far is deeply inconclusive about the actual utility of those things, and so it's important to just recognize that's what those are. But there are other little things that I like even better, and that's why I want to talk about puzzles.
Puzzles, I love puzzles.
Do you do the crosswords?
I don't do crosswords because I'm awful at them. Like, I can never think.
Do you
of
think
the
those
word.
two things are related?
The words and the...
Could it be that you're awful at them because you don't do them?
Probably, because I don't like them.
Yeah.
So I don't do them.
Yeah.
But I do Sudoku. I like Sudoku.
Sudoku?
Sudoku.
Yeah.
Sudoku.
Sudoku. So-so.
I haven't played it in a long time.
Ring-a-ling-a-ding-dong. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't done those kinds of puzzles in a long time, but I used to really enjoy them.
Well, so far the research says that, and there is a ton of research specifically on these particular kinds of puzzles related to age, right? Cognitive function and Alzheimer's, right? That's really where a lot of the research is.
And
is
I've
focused.
heard that before. Like, the more you do puzzles and crosswords and all of this stuff, the less chance you have of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Or
you get better at them, and you get better at them quickly too, because you learn that there are patterns and there are repeated clues and there are words that are just, they're words that once you learn them, you'll find them in all kinds of puzzles. Dr. Ann Corbett at the University of Exeter Medical School led a 25-year longitudinal study on age and relationship to doing these puzzles every day. And they said that what they discovered was that the memory performance and being able to function in these kinds of cognitive tasks improved really stunningly. In fact, let's see, the improvements are particularly clear in the speed and accuracy of their performance. In some areas, the improvement was quite dramatic on measures of problem solving. People who regularly do these puzzles performed equivalent to an average of 8 years younger compared to those who didn't. 8 years is a long time, y'all.
That
to have,
is
in terms of brain
time.
function, that's a big deal. So the question is, like, what does that do for ADHD? If it works so well for aging brains, what does it do for ADHD? There are a different set of kind of relationships there. And in fact, there isn't a lot of research being done specifically to ADHD, but there is with chess. If you've never played chess, it turns out that chess is one of those games that also has a distinct relationship with executive function, right, and performance and focus, and you can improve. As it turns out, a study at the University of Madrid, it's very early, and the researchers say you should be cautious when reading our data here. But what we have found is that it turns out that playing chess should definitely be included in a multimodal treatment of ADHD. It can deeply offset the requirements of a regular practice of chess can potentially offset requirements for meds. They can change the way you focus, change your relationship with your executive functioning disorder. So chess, who knew? Chess. Fascinating. I imagine the same kind of thing. Do you play? I do. I don't play as much as I used to, but I do have a board, and I have a dear friend, my kid's godfather, actually had a set of chess pieces, beautiful set of chess pieces, custom made for me as a gift some 15 years ago that
Hmm.
we still kind of play. They're giant, beautiful kind of soapstone,
Oh, how
completely
nice.
custom molds that are just lovely. So I am a big fan of the game. I don't play enough. I'm not very good at it, but I do enjoy playing it. I also love playing Go. It's kind of a similar experience playing Go, which is a sort of it's diminutive or dismissive to call it Chinese chess, but if you've never played Go, that's another really fun game that allows you to trigger a part of your brain that you just don't normally trigger. So
Right.
it comes down to this approach to inattentive mistakes, right? When you're playing games, what is the cost of an inattentive mistake? And a crossword, the inattentive mistakes are very, very low. When you're sitting around doing a crossword and you lose track of what's going on for a few minutes, you can come back to the crossword, right? It's not
Right,
like the
right.
crossword
Or
is
if you're
going to
doing it
keep.
in pencil,
Yeah,
and you made a
right.
mistake, you can erase it and everything's going to be fine.
Exactly. It's not like the crossword's going to fill itself out if you look away for 5 minutes and think about
Right.
the dog, right? It's
Right.
not going to do that. When you're playing chess with somebody else, the cost of inattentive mistakes is much higher because if you stop paying attention,
Right.
then the game will go on. You will miss a move that was important to you. And
Mhm.
it's one of the reasons I love playing with my son so much because the cost of his inattentive mistakes tend to be higher for him than for me. And so I'll move a piece and he'll totally miss it. And that will be the thing where he loses the game. So he's about the
Right.
only one anymore that I can beat pretty regularly because of inattentive mistakes. I hope he doesn't listen to this show.
That's right.
Because he will start paying attention.
Yes, you will.
So there's this issue with impulsivity in games and what is satisfying to you and what you need practice on. Like one of those reasons that chess can be exhaustive if you're new to it, because you have to work so hard until you develop that muscle and are able to focus for just long enough that you can start thinking one or two moves ahead. You're not paying to compete in worlds here. You don't need to think 20 moves ahead. You just get
Right.
one or two and you're going to be fine. So I love those. I also love the crosswords. My wife and I subscribe to the New York Times crossword service, highly recommended because you get access to the archives and you can play on the iPad or your phone. And we do it every single night before bed. The lights go out. We play a crossword and then we go to bed. And it's just a little ritual that we love doing. These kinds of games are really useful. But I do want to talk about this is where we get into some harder core recommendations because these are super fun. They're super fun around the holidays because you have a lot of people around, and having a lot of people around means you can think about games in a new kind of way. So do you play Monopoly, Nikki Kinzer?
I have, yeah.
Do you like it?
I mean, it's too long.
Yeah.
It's too long of a game. So it's almost like we haven't played in a couple of years, but the last time we played, it was the four of us. It was my family. And it was probably not this last summer, but the summer before that. So it's been about 2 years. And we ended up like making up a rule about how to get it to close because
how to end the game.
Yeah.
There are very few games that drive me to want to like turn over a table. Like I hate Monopoly. It's the worst.
Yeah.
It's like the message of Monopoly is the worst. It's like you're out. It's too long, and it's too long of an experience of just beating down each other. And that's why I present Monopoly first, because this category of games that I want to talk about that I recommend, and particularly recommend in light of ADHD, are cooperative games. In every way, these games are opposite of Monopoly. These are games where you and a group of friends are playing against chance, right? You're playing against the game itself, okay? And that's what makes these games fantastic. So the first one that sort of cornered the market, it wasn't the first in this sort of style of game. This sort of style of game has been around for a long time, but the one that I think started really rising to prominence is called Pandemic. Pandemic is a delightful game, complicated in its initial setup, but really fun because you and everybody playing take on different roles. Like you may be a medic, you may be a scientist, you may be a rescue worker. Whatever your job is, you're working in cooperation with everyone else at the table. And so you have to stop an outbreak of a big disease. That's your job. Together, you work against the table, against the cards, against all of the things of chance that could go against you. And I'm telling you, this game can turn your life on its ears. What's lovely about this from the ADHD perspective is it doesn't slow down. You are constantly engaged and moving, and you're talking to other people, and they have to talk to you and work with you. You don't have any chance for your gameplay to stop and then 5 other people to have to go before it's your turn again. You're always thinking cooperatively with the rest of the players, and it's just so fun.
That's the problem with dominoes. I love playing dominoes, but man, if you're going to play dominoes with me, you better be fast.
Yes.
Like, do not be thinking. Like, you need to know your move way before it's even your turn, because that drives me crazy.
That's right. That's right. And I think that pacing thing, the idea of working cooperatively actually does, again, back to this inattentive mistakes catastrophe, right? Because you're working cooperatively with other people, the inattentive mistake risk is mitigated because other people are looking at you saying, are you sure you want to play that card? Like, what the rest of us are doing is this other thing, and it feels like you may not be paying attention. Can we rethink this, right? You're helping one another.
Is this an actual game that you buy at the store?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Now,
these are all physical games that I'm talking about now.
These
and I
are
have
all
a couple more to that I really want to talk about. Yeah.
But before you do that, and maybe these are one of those games. Have you heard of the game that is actually sent to your house like once a month, and it's like a mystery or murder mystery or investigating?
Nikki, I'm so glad you brought that up. And now I don't remember the name of it, but you're absolutely right. That should be on this list. Yes.
Because I think that would be fun too. That would be totally something fun to look forward to. Especially, I think, as our kids are older now, they're teenagers, it would be a fun way of getting the family together that is unique. You'd be looking forward to it. It's like, oh, I wonder what's, I wonder what is this month's mystery or whatever it is. But I can't remember what it was called.
There are a couple. There are some that are actually really interesting. We did a whole show on the escape room and the ADHD, so they make me a little bit nervous. But there are a couple that are. Escape the Crate is one that $30 every 2 months, and you essentially get escape rooms that you set up in your house. There are like murder mysteries. Like, did you ever play Murder in the House or Murder in the Dark when you were a kid, where everybody's wandering around and there's one person who they shake a hand?
Right? You and I have played a murder mystery at my old house in Tigard.
Yes, we did.
And I am going to post some photos.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. We're talking about games. And you and I, our friends and our spouses, we all played a game. And it was a murder mystery game, and we had to get dressed up. And
do you remember the era?
Fine.
Do you remember the era?
1970s, baby.
Yes, it was.
1970s.
I still have my suit, that white suit.
Yeah, I'm posting that.
Oh, dear.
All you Patreon members are going to get a treat.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyhow, so you can the other one that we'll put a link to is Hunt a Killer, which is another one that is highly, highly reviewed, although I've not subscribed to it, so I can't actually talk about it. But I've heard wonderful things about it, and so we'll put links in the show notes to those as well. Okay.
All right,
the other one, there are a couple more that are like that. Like Flashpoint Fire Rescue is one that is highly recommended, where you work together to save people from a burning building. And it feels like,
cool.
Yeah. And you know how you lose? If people die in the house, but the people are like chance, right? Or a building can collapse. That is,
my favorite. Can you fall through a roof?
Right. Little leg.
My little leg is that probably is going to minus a point.
Let's see. Zombicide is another one. You each play as a survivor with special skills. So after, pandemic, a lot of these just sort of blossomed. Stop Thief. This is an interesting one because you play a private investigator, right? You're a team of private investigators to catch criminals. But the cool thing is there's an app actually that you can download, and the app will deliver you audio clues as you play. And these audio clues can actually get more or less descriptive as you get good at the game. So you can actually change the difficulty of the game every time you play, thanks to this lovely app that works in parallel with the game. So that's that one. The last one I want to mention, I swear this is the very last one, and then we'll get out of here, I was just introduced to this game at a friend's party, friend's house, and it was kind of a group party game. And I am now addicted to this. I think about this game all the time. It's not a mystery. It's not a story. It's just shapes. All right. So you're sitting down at a table and you have foam blocks of different sizes, right? Cubes and diagonals and cones and all kinds of things, right? All spread out on the table. And they're all different colors. And you each get a card, like 6 people, I think 6 to 8 people can play, and you each get a card. And on that card is a 2-dimensional representation of a final shape, right? That is different from the person next to you. But it is the same shape when it's finished, right? So you have to work together to build the 3-dimensional building structure that represents what's on your card and what's on their card and their card and their card all the way around. So all of these cards add up to make the final shape, which is a 3-dimensional structure that you're building together on this table. It's called Mental Blocks. And it is so much fun. And it has my brain on fireworks in the very best way. Not that stupid, horrible way. It's a really, really good way. And we had a blast with this game. Eventually, as you get better at it, you introduce saboteur cards where one person will have a shape that doesn't match and you have to figure out that person. It's just extraordinarily fun. All of these kinds of games, I think, work just beautifully for gifts. If you want to give a gift to your own family and introduce some new time, these are games that you can sit down with your ADHD and approach a game in a way that doesn't make you want to turn over the table and actually have some fun with it. So that's it. That's my little contribution to the holiday spirit. I hope that's useful for somebody. And links to all these things will be in the show notes.
That's great.
What do you think?
Thank you, Pete.
How'd we do?
This is great.
This is a little bit of an aside, not quite so heavy.
I have some ideas for gifts.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
I hope you play hard. So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to the show. As always, we appreciate your time and your attention. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. You should probably use this as an opportunity to go reinforce that attic floor. We'll catch you next week.
Well, I was just going to say, I should probably just, on one last note, just be careful where you walk on the attic floor.
Plywood's cheap.
Because you might be dangling. If you don't.
We'll catch you next week right here on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.